Welcome back to the Chester Centurions podcast, the show where we dive into the journeys, lessons and insights of business leaders making a difference across Chester and beyond. I'm your host Alan Bark, and today I'm joined by Lisa Curran, Managing Director of Currans Homes, a name that will be familiar to anyone in Chester and the world property market. Currans has been established for over 36 years, starting out as a lettings business before evolving into one of the region's most respected estate agencies. Today the business spans three brands: Lettings, Currans Homes and Currans Unique, the latter dedicated to showcasing distinctive, character-filled properties that often require a story-led creative approach to marketing. In our conversation, Lisa shares how she went from a successful career in corporate banking to running the family business, what it really takes to thrive in a highly competitive sector, and the importance of resilience, innovation, and building the right team around you. If you've ever wondered what it takes to build a long-standing, trusted brand in property while keeping your vision fresh and future-focused, this episode is packed with insights. Let's dive in. So Lisa, welcome to the Chester Centurion podcast.
Hi Alan, thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome. Listen, before we get started today, I'd love to know a little bit more about Currans. If you're local, you'll be aware of Currans Homes, but tell us a little bit more about the business.
Okay, so business has been going for 36 years, and 36 years ago, it was actually my sister who set up the business. And at that time, interestingly, the market was very, very different to where we are now. Back in '89, there were a lot of high street estate agents, but very, very few did rental. And so when she set up Home Let, it was just a rental business. She picked up quite a lot of business from her contemporary estate agents. And she built the business slowly but very organically for 15 years. And then 21 years ago, when I had my first child, Eva, when I was working in corporate banking, my sister was selling up. I had a portfolio of properties and thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Who's going to look after the properties? So I kind of fell into it. That said, I'd been working in the business for quite a bit of time. I'm giving you my life story now, not even talking about Currans.
That's fine. Yeah, it's good.
But, 21 years ago, we were still just a solid lettings business. Then in 2008, 2009, just as the market changed dramatically, we actually went into sales, which was quite a good time to do it, to be honest, because it was a fairly quiet time. Things had changed massively. We went into sales, and then we've never really looked back. So now there's three elements or three brands to the business. We've still got lettings, we've got Currans Home Sales, and then we've got Unique Home Sales. So we have Currans Homes and Currans Unique.
And what's the difference between, obviously I get the lettings, but Homes and Currans Unique, what's the difference between those two branches?
And again, I think that's where, we were a bit of a disruptor in the market, because there would be the same service or the same products for £100,000 house as there was for a £2 million house, and clearly they're different. And Unique isn't just about a price tag, actually. Sometimes we'll have a Unique home that's a John Douglas in Bath Street, which is a much smaller price tag. But Unique homes, I think, require a different approach. So, they need a bit of a storytelling. That said, as a business, we are dedicated to creativity. So videos, for example, are on all of our homes. They're on our lettings homes, they're on our standard Currans homes, and they're also on our Unique. But Unique would have a videographer a professional videographer. And sometimes homes can be, we try to not be limited by the marketing. Quite often it's about the house. You might go to a house, like I went to a house last week and had this idea, right, I'm going to put a QR code. This particular house gets a lot of traffic. So we have a QR code outside the house. So sometimes it's not about ticking a box of marketing. It's about thinking outside of the box and bringing whatever it is that's going to get the right eyes on that home to happen.
And I had a quick look around Currans Homes and Currans Unique, and the properties are spectacular. Some of them are a little lottery win away for me, Lisa, but you can dream, right? You can dream.
It's a national pastime, isn't it? Looking for homes, I think, on Rightmove or on people's website. And thank you for saying, Alan, we're very proud of the homes that we've got.
And the way you bring them to life with the pictures as well, Lisa, is, it's pictures tell a story, don't they? And I think that's what you're talking about with the unique properties, is character properties where you maybe need to tell the story a little bit. And you've definitely done that now.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think, when you get into homes that are different, it is quite often about lifestyle. So, for example, if we've got a house that's coming to market, like I've got one in the next few weeks, that's got a tennis court, myself and the styler who joins me on the shoot will get into tennis whites and we'll play some tennis. It's not just about a picture of the tennis court. It's about showing people what it's like to wake up in the morning, grab some orange juice, have a friend round and do that. So yeah.
I'm going to be looking out for that one now, Lisa, without a shadow of a doubt. So listen, what motivated you to start or get involved in the business, and what was the sort of driving force behind that decision to take on this entrepreneurial role?
Good question. I think I've always been very interested in property. So back in '89, when my sister set up the business, I was at university at that time, and whenever I was home, I would be working alongside her in the business. So I was always interested in property. But I guess the motivation for going into the business was twofold. I think it was largely about getting the work-life balance right. At the time that I entered, I was working in the corporate world in a senior position. I was working for an American American bank, and working very, very long hours. And so John was also in corporate, but not where I was employed at that time. And I thought, how on earth am I going to, I knew I wanted to keep working, but how on earth am I going to balance that? And so I think on the one hand, it was about having this bundle of joy that I knew I wanted to spend time with when she would be awake, but I also wanted the challenge of having a career. And I think the second thing has got to be about, I knew my passion lay in property. When I first got a corporate banking job, instead of getting a faster car and a bigger house, I started buying very, very small rental properties. So I started with studios. I bought a few of those, and then I met John, and I think he bought a 1-bedroom flat, and then together we bought a 2-bedroom, and we started to get a portfolio together of properties, and that's interesting in itself, because back then we had a few mortgages. I had a personal mortgage, so did he, and we had a current account mortgage. So we would do that, and then we would flip it onto our buy-to-let, make a little bit more available on our mortgage, and then we'd do it again. So we were doing that really successfully, and so the second reason is, when Jackie packed it up, I thought, crumbs, who am I going to entrust this to? Oh my gosh, this could be what I want to do. And so yeah, it was also about the passion for property, I think.
And you're a few years in now, Lisa. So what would you say some of the common misconceptions about running a business are, and how do you go about addressing them?
Ooh, misconceptions. I don't know. Does it look easy? I don't know if people. I think people fall into two camps. I think some people think, "Oh my gosh, it's so easy," But then I think people who know me well know it's incredibly hard, and the buck stops with you. I don't know if that's answered your question.
No, it definitely has, and I think it's quite a common misconception that people think if you've got your own business, you don't work many hours, and life is a bit easier. But in reality, you probably work twice the amount of hours, and life isn't easy. There's a lot of stress, there's a lot of commitment involved, and the SME market in the UK employs more people than any other industry. We've got a huge amount of people employed, and the SME owners in the UK should be applauded for that, because the amount of commitment and stress and I guess putting it all on the line, the country wouldn't be where it was without the SME market. So we should applaud that, and we should celebrate it.
Oh, totally. And I think, there's so many stories, aren't there, about, it isn't all about success, is it? The people who've been very, very successful have failed 100 million times, and it's about being resilient and carrying on. And, I met a lovely lady yesterday who, she was just such a joy to meet, and she had taken a punt on. I think her and her husband had gone on this holiday, and he'd had a call to say, would you buy into this business? So essentially, he was going to take an arm of a chemical engineering business, and they both took a punt on this holiday. They said, do you know what, we're going to do it. And she sat in this beautiful house yesterday, and she said, I'm so proud of myself because, I'm from, and she gave me an area in North Wales, which is not an area that is affluent at all. My dad was I think he was a scaffolder, my husband's was whatever. And, this is only what could be, it was made of our dreams, but we took a punt and we worked damn hard, and it was so obvious, they'd recently retired. And I thought, my God, that's brilliant. Because it isn't
Incredible.
about doing what you've always done, is it? It's about feeling that fear and doing it anyway.
Embracing it, 100%. So you've kind of already touched on this, but as one of the reasons why you started in the first place. But how do you maintain a work-life balance as a business owner? And do you have any sort of personal rituals or habits that keep you motivated and focused?
Yeah, I try to. I've got to be honest. The last few weeks have been a little bit of a strange one, but I'm getting back on it. But yes, I do have a routine. I'm very, very lucky. John and I work out together with a fabulous trainer called Katie Challoner, who has a studio not too far away from our house. So we're very lucky that 3 times a week at 6:30 till 7:30, we're in a very small group doing PT. So I think that absolutely it is a great thing to have in the calendar and to do. I was poorly a few years ago, and since then I have a daily sauna ritual, which I love. I like to read in the sauna. I find that's very, very therapeutic. And typically I'll do that first thing in the morning. And 2 years ago, John bought me, which is just outside the window I'm in front of, a plunge pool, one of the that you fill with cold water. And I do love doing that. So yeah, there's a few things that we do that I think in terms of focus.
I'm not entirely sure I agree with the plunge pool, to be honest, Lisa. I'm not sure whether I could. It sounds awful. I haven't tried it yet, to be fair. So the benefits are supposed to be incredible, right?
They really are. They really are. And it's a cliche, but you really do feel it when you do it. It benefits me certainly until lunchtime, but sometimes even into the afternoon. Yeah, it's probably. Although it's not as enjoyable as the sauna, I think it's probably the most impactful thing that you can do. And and I don't stay in for very long. Sometimes it's only 40 seconds, sometimes it's a minute and a bit. Some people do it for way longer than that, but I find that's just something that I can do that really impacts me positively.
Gosh, maybe I should give it a go. And you're absolutely right. This keep fit, keep healthy, that routine that you've got is so powerful to keep you motivated, to keep you focused as well. I was very fortunate to have Frank, the legend that is Frank Bruno, speaking at an event we had in Chester Town Hall at the end of last year, and he talks about his recovery from, quite open about his mental health issues. And a big part of that recovery was finding the gym again and finding his fitness again. And, if he ever stays away from his house, it has to be somewhere where it's got I think he has about 3 saunas a day or something like that. It's keeping healthy, keeping fit, having that routine is, people underestimate, is so powerful to keep you focused and engaged.
Totally. I mean, I'm crazy about the sauna. So I've had a traditional sauna for about 6 years. But 2 years ago, I've also got an infrared, which John loves. And I think, the infrared sauna, although it hasn't got the feel-good factor of traditional, that is incredible, particularly if you've got any kind of inflammation, joints and that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Very good. Listen, if business is moving faster than I guess it's ever moved, we've got AI coming like a steam train down the rails here. And in this constantly evolving business landscape, how do you stay adaptable to change and open to change? Are there any specific strategies you use to remain innovative?
Well, I think having the buy-in from the rest of the team is immense for this. I think I quite like change, but I'm very, very lucky. I'm surrounded by people who constantly challenge themselves and each other. So I think it's just about having people around you who feel the same way. And I've just been on the phone actually to the university about what can we do creatively different. I have placements quite often at the moment. We've got an English student who's a placement with us, and I was just speaking to her lecturer, and it's interesting what the local education establishments are doing in relation to linking into businesses. So not just the university, but also my niece Jordan. She is highly involved in the campus for the college, and the same is true. I think things are changing all the time. It's a cliche to say that 10 minutes in business is a long time, but it really is now. So it's good to see what other people are doing, and it's good to see. I do a fair amount of networking nationally and now internationally, because we've got an Italian arm, just to see what works for other people in a safe environment, and what can we do differently.
Interesting. And I love the fact that you mentioned the team there straight away, and they're constantly challenging each other. It's a sign of a very, very healthy team, that. And something I encourage in all my clients is that accountability and challenge, and so good that you talked about that. So cool. Could you offer a glimpse into the future plans and goals for the business? I mean, what's your next chapter look like, Lisa? Where are you going next? You mentioned Italy there.
Good question. So our head office will always be in Chester, I think. We're very, very lucky. We've now got a team of 5 people over in North Wales, which is working very well, headed up by Catherine, who's been with us a number of years, and she's amazing. We've just got the keys to an office in Heswall. Heswall, I think, will only be launching with the Unique brand. And the Heswall office is really exciting. So it's on Pensby Road. It's close to a number of the other agents. But again, I'm keen to do things a little bit differently. So that's not going to be people behind desks. It's going to be a bit like, my vision is that it's going to be a little bit like an exclusive wedding shop. So it's going to have, a lovely kitchen set up with wine and champagne and coffee, and, people will come in by arrangement. They'll be able to see some of the houses that we've got. But it definitely won't be sat across a desk. It'll be, very, very much relaxing and trying to find, the sweet spot with some of the high end stuff. The market over in the Wirral is incredibly exciting, and there's an awful lot of movement in the unique home space. So very, very excited about Pensby. Watch this space for that. I'd also love something in Cheshire, but I'm not too sure what that will look like yet. So yeah, it's just about doing what we do, but on a wider scale. We're already doing some good business in all of those areas, but I'm finding by having an office in the area, it just helps our traction a little bit. In terms of international, we are very lucky to be partnered with a company over in La Spezia, and that's very exciting. We've got about 15 homes on the market at the moment on Rightmove Plus. We're heading out there at the end of June again with a whole team of people, videographers, photographers, stylers, and some of the team. So yeah.
Wow, that's pretty concise as well. You obviously have a really clear vision for where the business is going, Lisa. Incredible. I've got two more questions. One of them's a big one, and it's what are the three biggest pieces of advice that you would give to someone thinking about starting their own business, or maybe facing some challenges in their business at the moment? What would you guess? What would you say your top three are?
Top three advice to someone starting a business. I think it's got to be, don't listen to the haters, or don't listen to people who are going to tell you it's not possible. And sometimes they're not the haters, actually. Sometimes they're the people who are trying to protect you. But do it. Don't be put off by that. I think the second one would be, my mind's gone blank.
I won't hold you to three.
I think the second one would be get comfortable with failing, because, very, very few people think of an idea and, it works. So my second one would be just be relentless at accepting that, failure doesn't mean failure. The only failure is if you don't get back up and try again. And I think the third thing would probably be, get in a decent network. So, my first point was, do it and don't be put off by people. But my third one, I think, is get the right people around you who are going to help you. So if you're going to set up a business, the best thing that I think you can do is find someone who's walked the walk and get them to help you. So, invite someone out for dinner, invite them for coffee, get yourself a good mentor who's walked the boards. Just to bring that together is, I think sometimes when we ask, our parents or our best friends, should I be doing this? It's not that they don't want to help you, but I think, they worry for you. Whereas I think when you partner with, an action coach is great at doing this. When you partner with someone who's felt that and made a success of it, they're your best friends, because, they'll help you.
Yeah, 100% right. I mean, I've got a story on that, which is involving my mum, of all things. Let's hope she's not watching this, but she was that person, and because she cared for me, she was like, why are you doing this? Why don't you just get a job? Why are you starting your own business? And they start to place doubt and fear and limiting beliefs in your own head. And it's not from a place of hate. You're 100% right. It can be from a place of of care and love. But don't listen to the people that say you can't, I think is absolute gold dust. Get comfortable with failure and make sure you get back up. Fail often, fail forward. And get in a decent network. Surround yourself with people that are going to help you. Hang out with people that have already done it and just copy and emulate the success that they've had. Wow. If you obviously, I kind of put you on the spot with that question, Lisa, but they are 3 absolute gold nuggets there. Thank you so much for that. Really, really cool. So thank you so much for being on today. I have got one more question, but thank you so much for being on today. I really appreciate your time. But the final question is a pay forward question. I haven't done this before, so there isn't one to ask you, unfortunately, Lisa, but what would you like the next guest on the podcast? What question would you like to ask them?
Okay. I mean, this might sound a boring question, actually. I love reading, and I think, I love all the Action Coach books, actually. They're up on my bookshelf behind me. I love Brad Sugars. I'm crazy about reading books, particularly business books. So, yeah, I'd like to know what their favourite book is and why.
What their favourite book is. We plug for Brad Sugars there as well. I like that. Favourite book is. He's got some amazing books. And I like that he has instant too, doesn't he? He does the small books, instant cash flow, all of that. Love it. Yeah, you're right. They're pretty straightforward, but the message and the content is really good. This is my one, by the way, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Patrick Lencioni. Yeah, anything by Patrick Lencioni. I think you mentioned it already in the podcast, but getting the right people around you, getting that team around you, that high-performing team that are operating in an environment that creates performance. I think there's nothing better than seeing a business thrive through getting that right.
Just as an aside, I've sent my son today to school with Leverage. Have you played Leverage?
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
It's the Brad Sugars game about buying businesses, and it's absolutely amazing. And I love that now that all the school, some of the exams are over, and the teachers are saying, bring your games in. And again, I think that's a great, that's what we should be playing with our children. Monopoly is great, but Leverage, amazing. Cash flow,
it is a good game.
Fantastic. Good game.
I'll need to take you on at Leverage someday, Lisa. See who wins. No, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it, and let's stay in touch. Hopefully, we can grab a coffee sometime. Thank you. Speak to you soon.
Speak soon. Bye.